Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nathan Alim. I'm the Program Associate for Diversity and Inclusion at Women's Health and Equal Rights Initiative. And today I am here with
Constance Nneka Onyemechi, Founder and Executive Director, Women and Girls with Albinism Network. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chika. I'm one of the care fellows. I'm happy to be here. Good afternoon, Constance.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I remember during last year's care fellowship networking forum, you were there and you made a valid contribution that pricked my heart, where you suggested that this issue of inclusion of people with disability or queer persons should not be left in isolation. All our suggestions on how to include them in our activities shouldn't die here. I remember you did tell us that our opinions and our feelings about including people with disability that have sexuality difference that does not conform what society tends to be good should not be isolated. They should be included in all the programs. If you remember, you were there and that was a suggestion. Now, I want to know, in conversation about disability inclusion, there is often a focus on accessibility and participation. How do we continue expanding the conversation to ensure that inclusion considers the different identities, experiences, and needs that exist within communities, including LGBTQNC persons with disability?
Thank you very much for that question. I also recall that, in the Nigerian system or Nigerian society, we make a lot of promises and it ends there. That was why I had to make that statement, so that we don't just come out to churn out promises that sound very good, but we are unable to actually incorporate into our systems. So how do we ensure accessibility and participation for persons with disabilities and including LGBTQ? Looking back, I also talked about policy. We already have a Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act that speaks to the issues of persons with disabilities. However, this policy does not capture all facets of life for persons with disabilities. Neither does it capture all kinds of disabilities to provide adequately for them. So I think that the area of accessibility should also focus on policy review. The Disability Act, Nigerian Disability Act, should go through series of review to ensure that it recognizes every cluster and every facet of disability. Also, I also think that the constitution in itself, the Nigerian constitution, where every policy is drawn out from, should also be reviewed to incorporate persons with disabilities and the LGBTQ community. I know that in Nigeria, conversations around LGBTQ is not talked about because of religion, because of societal constructs, because of upbringing. But we cannot deny the fact that LGBTQ exist and they live amongst us, and also their rights should be upheld, because as humans you have rights as a human being before your sexuality is even considered. So conversations in the room should focus on policies, because policies drive change. Policies drive long-lasting change that we intend to see. And when we talk about accessibility, a lot of people look at accessibility from just the infrastructural facets, so physical infrastructure and all of that. No. Aside physical infrastructure, what about information? What about every other part of life? For persons with disabilities, including the LGBTQ, in conversations, most times, accessibility is provided, but inclusion is not. What does that mean? You can be invited for a program or a forum, and when you go there, you're actually not included because your voice is not heard, your input is not considered, and all of that. So I think that when we begin to talk about accessibility, inclusion, participation, let us look at it from the angle of also including it in the policy, because policy creates a legal framework, a legal backing for whatever you want to fight for. If you want to fight against exclusion, you should have a policy and a section that speaks to what you're fighting against.
Thank you so much for this wonderful response.
You're welcome.
So tell me, in Albinism network, how has your programming shifted to include other diverse persons with disability, brackets, LGBTQ persons?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. You know, after I attended the program, we decided to do things differently. And I think that is why you are here, for us to also build that partnership, build that collaboration, to also ensure that if there are qualified persons with disabilities who also identify as LGBTQ, who also have the skill set, we can also get the person into our team, because diversity is beautiful. You know, diversity makes you understand the world better, and it gives you a broader perspective of how the world operates and how the world looks like. So that is why I believe that this partnership is very, very useful to our program.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that you're even thinking about including LGBTQ persons that are qualified into your organizations and programming. Now, this will lead me to my last question for this section. In your organization, what would meaningful inclusion look like beyond representation?
Meaningful inclusion. Well, first of all, what is representation? Well, for example, representation can just be who is in the room. Somebody might be in the room representing persons with disabilities. But then meaningful inclusion is who is heard, who can make changes, who can make impacts. To me, that is meaningful inclusion. So for me, as an organization, meaningful inclusion looks at facets of leadership, persons with disabilities being given opportunities to lead and not only be led. You know, giving their ideas, being given life for them to lead different kinds of activities, projects. That's leadership. Then equity. For me, that's also meaningful inclusion. Giving out resources to persons with disabilities according to what they need, according to their needs. Also, active participation. What a lot of people practice is representation. Oh, let's invite persons with disabilities. Let it not seem as if they were not included. But that's not inclusion, that's representation. But inclusion is active participation. When these people come, their voices are heard, not just heard, but their ideas are also noted down. They are not overlooked because of their disability. You know, active participation, being given the mantle to lead, being accessibility being created, equity being practiced, and all of that. So as an organization, these are the things we stand for. My volunteers that work with me are persons with disabilities. I make sure that they're strictly persons with disabilities. Because a lot of people say, oh, persons with disabilities don't have the skills, they don't. But have you tried working with them to see that they don't have the skills? Even if they don't have the skills per se, have you tried training them to also lead? Because one thing that makes humans or creates sustainability in organizations, the ability to allow others also lead. So that is, to me, that is what meaningful inclusion looks like for me as an organization for persons with disabilities.
Thank you, Constance. Thank you, Ike Felu, for that wonderful conversation. You know, it's amazing listening to you both talk. So while you were talking, Constance, you said something. You said being represented is having a person with a disability present in the room of conversation, but being meaningful in inclusion is having them there, allowing them to speak for themselves, and then hearing them out. And having them in a space and not giving them the space to speak and to be heard is not being inclusive.
Yeah.
That's amazing to listen to. Thank you. So this brings me to the point of collaboration. At what point or where do you see possible opportunity between WHER initiative and other organizations working in different inclusion spaces to collaborate with your organization, Albinism Network?
Okay, thank you very much for that good question. I always believe that for us to achieve the SDGs, there should be meaningful participation and collaboration, and that is what one of the SDG goal points at. My organization takes partnership seriously because we do not believe in working in silos. And there are intersectionalities when you look at the issues of disabilities, OPDs, that's Organization of Persons with Disabilities, and other things that we fight for, especially inclusion in all aspects. Now for WHER, I know that they're focused on LGBTQ. Also, the program for persons with disabilities, just like you, a person with disability. And my organization is an OPD. And looking at the cross-cutting issues that we address. For example, I know that WHER focuses on women's health rights. We also focus on that's SRHR, sexual reproductive health rights. So you can see that there are cross-cutting issues that affect women with disabilities and women, LGBTQ women with disabilities. And I understand that is where we can also come in. We also look at education, inclusive education. So that's also where I feel that we can collaborate. There are different ways we can collaborate. We also look at climate change. Climate change affects everyone. Climate change does not discriminate. It affects everyone, OPDs, LGBTQs, and I feel that is also where we can collaborate. Like I said, there are intersectionalities when it comes to issues. So when we say one organization is focused on this and that, you find out that what you're focused on, the other organization is also focused on it. And intersectionality, identifying that there are intersectionalities, creates room for broader outcomes, for broader impacts, for broader outputs, rather than when you just focus on just a particular sector, which gives you limited impact and limited output.
Thank you, Constance, for that point you just made, where we can collaborate and partner with your organization. We don't take partnership as a joke. We take it very seriously because, like you said, it's not good to work in silos. And if people come together, what they'll achieve will be bigger than working alone. So we'll go back and see what you've mentioned and see how we can come in and make sure that we have something good to really do with each other. Thank you very much for also having us here. It's actually a great thing to be here. Thank you for having us.